hard to pick one. I was going to say, what is your favorite attribute of God? I'll tell you what mine is. I think my favorite attribute of God is His sovereignty. The fact that He knows all and is in control of all, that He knows the end from the beginning, that nothing surprises Him, that everything that happens in my life happens for a purpose, and I never have to doubt that, I never have to question that. I love His sovereignty. I get at this because I think one of the first things that pops into our mind is the mercy of God. And it should, shouldn't it? We have a God, it says in Micah chapter 7, who delights not in judgment or in prosecution, but in showing mercy whenever He possibly can. That is inherent and bound up and intertwined in the nature of God, and in His heart that constantly beats for all of mankind. To be gentle and long-suffering and patient, even when we are not patient and we can't stand ourselves. You ever had that incident where you look at your life and you look at yourself and all your weaknesses and your failings, and you're just like, I can't stand myself. Well, that's not healthy long-term, is it? There can be a place for that. In fact, that's where we come to our knees. We come before God and say, Lord, I see myself for what I really am. It's disgusting. I cast myself on your mercy. And that's why He says, that's when He loves you most. When you are the most unlovable, that's when the God of mercy loves you. So today, as we talk about these spiritual gifts, we're going to start talking about the very last one on the list. And you'll know right away what it is. I can't believe how long this has taken. But here's our key verse, Romans chapter 12, verses 6 through 8. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy, according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, serving, as we call that. Let us wait on our ministering, and he that teaches on teaching, he that exhorts on exhorting, he that gives, let him do it with simplicity. He that rules or administers, organizes, that was the last 2 weeks, with diligence. That was the exhortation we talked about, the diligence of ruling. And of course, he that shows mercy with cheerfulness. When you were the darkest time of your life, when your soul and your heart were broken, and you thought nobody knew, nobody cared, when you were afraid, when you were uncertain, do you remember that key person who God brought along into your life to sit down with you and hear you out? And maybe put their arm around you, or just sit in the chair across from you and say, and look in your eye and say, I'm here for you. Maybe they didn't say anything. Maybe that's sometimes best to not say anything, but just to weep with those that weep and rejoice with those that rejoice. That person probably had this amazing spiritual gift of God to be sensitive to the needs and the hurts, to be in tune to that, to what's going on around them in other people's lives, which are often not expressed, and to be in tune to that and respond appropriately. Did that change your life? It changed mine. I had a pastor friend who came alongside of me after I had failed, after I had been hurt. I mean, I was discouraged. I thought my life in ministry with God's work was done. And through his patience and his mercy and his compassion and his companionship, that man actually showed me what pastoring, what shepherding was about. It wasn't just about standing up front and proclaiming the gospel or pronouncing prophecy or pronouncing judgment or warning people about the righteousness of God, which is important. But it was about the tender, quiet, dark moments where nobody else sees and nobody else knows. That shepherd can be there with you in your hardest times. That friend can be there with you. More importantly, it tells us that the Spirit of God, Jesus himself, is broken with compassion and is there with you. I remember sitting on my bedroom floor, feeling like there was nowhere I could go from there, nobody I could talk to, because, man, I was already so judged. I couldn't get any worse than this. Don't ever say that, by the way. Don't ever say, hey, it's not going to get any worse than this, because it probably can, if we don't respond right to it. But that's when I heard the still small voice of Jesus saying, I'm still here. I've always been here. When are you going to start paying attention to me again? And it's like he stripped away all the other noise. And it was him and I, and the mercy of God. And it was like such a bathing of my soul. Brandon, you ever crawled under a house in a crawl space and just been covered in absolute filth or something at the end of a long day? And then the best feeling on earth isn't to go crawl in a shower and just,
One of them.
oh man. That's what the mercy of God feels like on your soul when you really need it. A mercy giver's basic motivational drive is to sense and respond to the emotional and spiritual needs of others. They have like a sixth sense. They can see that people are hurting, or have need, or are broken. They respond to it. Those with mercy motivational gift have a divine ability to sense hurt and respond to it with love and understanding. They are equipped by God to actually act on that person's hurt. It's like they have a radar for it. Now, God forgive us. We have something in human nature that's kind of animalistic. I have chickens, okay? And we have one big rooster who's supposed to do a couple jobs. He's pretty much worthless, but he's a lot bigger than the other chickens. He's tough. But I noticed he had an injury on his foot this week. He got a cut on his foot. Suzanne came in and told me. And what happens when a chicken in the coop, whether he's the rooster or whoever he is, what happens when he gets injured? Their life turns bad. Because they have this thing called a pecking order. And chickens see a weakness, they see a wound, they see a spot, and they go after it. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I won't go into details, but there's something nasty even in human nature sometimes that sees a weakness and reacts to it. Ooh, that's ugly. Ooh, that's nasty. Ooh, I don't want to get any of that on me. Or they'll exploit it. We call that kicking somebody when they're down. Can you believe that? But that's the sin nature. It promotes self so much, and it sees weakness, it sees hurt, it sees a need, and does not respond to it with the heart of Jesus that has compassion on people because they're like sheep without a shepherd. This is a divine ability of people to not run from need and not run from hurt, but to run to it. Something very interesting that my parents always said to me was, you want to see what a true man of God, a true woman of God does? When they see a problem, they don't run from it, they run to it. Zach, you ever want to be a man someday? You got a problem, don't run away from it, run to the problem and solve it and meet it face on. Well, these mercies in that interesting kind of twist of fate way, they run to the problem, to face it head on and to address it where your need is. We can praise God for these people. Romans 12:15, same chapter we've been pulling these gifts out of, says, weep with those that weep and rejoice with those that do rejoice. We are commanded by God to exercise His mercy, to empathize with one another. When you see somebody has a need, John talks about this, James talks about this. He says, if you see your brother has need, and you shut up your bowels of mercy, you close your heart to that person. They're hungry, they're thirsty, they're sad, they don't have clothes, they don't have basic need. You say, oh, that's too bad. God bless you. I hope that works out. Be warmed and filled. He says, don't lie to yourself. The love of God does not live in you. When we see true needs, our heart should be yanked by its strings. Because Jesus had incredible mercy every day on us. So we are commanded to show compassion and empathy. Sit down and weep with those that weep and let that pass. Have joy with those that are excited. If something good happens to you, you got to tell somebody, right? When something bad happens, you really wish you had somebody to tell. And often we don't. But that person who shows mercy, they're there for them. They're kind and gentle. They sense and reflect the spiritual and emotional atmosphere around them. Now, that's an important distinction. We've talked about some other gifts, prophets, organizers. We just talked about organizers last week, how they don't seem to have much emotion at all. They project their attitude and their viewpoint onto you. They tell you about what could be, what should be. They're not so much interested in, necessarily how you feel. In fact, I'll be the first one to tell you, feelings are fickle. I don't trust them. I warn you against them. Hold on to the rock of truth. What God's Word tells you, no matter what you feel like on a given day, right? We just got done talking about that a few minutes ago. That is true. but they're not really good at showing empathy. What's that saying? They don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. So mercy actually reflects the feelings and the emotions and the atmosphere around them rather than projecting onto it and saying, I don't care what the situation is, here's how it should be, let's go for it. You need both, don't you? You need both. You need to speak the truth in love, is the command that Jesus gives us. Never not speak the truth, don't neglect the truth, don't forget to tell it, but don't ever speak it in an unloving manner, because that defeats the entire purpose. You can't ever separate the two. Here's something interesting though. Mercies need to be needed. That's how they get their fulfillment. If they're not needed, or if they feel like they are not needed or unappreciated, that focus of empathy will now turn inward. And now they'll feel sorry for themselves. Boy, that's icky fast, isn't it? But their sensitivity and their sympathy is exactly how they react and feel about themselves. Poor me. Nobody needs me. Nobody wants me. So that is one danger that we'll look at in the future that they tend toward. If they can't demonstrate their mercy and their love and their serving toward you, who are they going to give it to? I love this last one. Spirituality, or there's the relationship with God. It's not a textbook analysis of truth and understanding and principles and application, but it's an emotional confirmation of God's presence in his or her life. There has to be that emotional element for them. That's how they're confirmed that, man, God is really working in my heart. I feel it. I'm responding to it with a very emotional response. They're emotional people. And you know what? I like them. I like them when I preach a message and I can kind of pick a mercy out of the crowd because they're the one with tears streaming down their face. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting through to somebody. I must be doing something. They're the criers. They're the laughers. We need those. I think some of you might have that sensitivity in your soul. Don't ever let the world, don't ever let Satan, don't ever let sin harden your heart. Don't ever let anybody look down or correct or mock the tenderness of your heart and say, oh, toughen up. Oh, grow up. No. Preserve that sensitivity. God bless the tenderness of your heart. Don't let anybody harden that. Here's some of their strengths. Believers who have the gift of mercy are the backbone of prayer in the church. And you know that I talk about prayer all the time. We must pray. Come on, people, we got to pray about this. If we pray about the same things together in one voice and one heart, God hears the prayer of the righteous. It says that in James 5. It tells us the fervent, effectual prayer of a righteous man is effective. And we've recently had answers to prayer in this congregation, haven't we? Some of you are sitting here as direct results, I believe, of the prayers of God's people. But mercy people are the ones who are just, they feel they have to pray. Why? Because prayer is an emotional expression for them. It's their heart to God. It's the way they receive God's heart to them. There's no other better way for them to express their burdens, their anguish, their joy, their fervor than through prayer. What better avenue could there be? So they're strong on prayer. This gift equips them to reach out to people who are suffering, but would likely be reluctant to tell others about their needs. Here's something that continues to amaze me. I don't care what church, what household, what community, what room you walk into full of people. That room is so full of needs that are not expressed, that most people are not aware of. That's why we've got to be so careful and gentle and tender when we interact with people, because we have no idea what that person we're sitting next to is going through that day, that week, in their life. Mercies have the sixth sense to read that and pick up on that and be constantly aware of that. You know, I'm not going to lie to you, some of the greatest hurts and frustrations I've ever experienced have come from well-meaning but clueless people who are not aware of what I'm going through at that moment. I'll walk into church later. So I remember one day, I'll just say this, one day I walked into church, I came late because I woke up that morning with the flu. So I spent most of the morning over the toilet and just shaky and dizzy, and I really shouldn't go to church today, but what choice do you have? I'm the pastor. It just happened today. So we're going to go at the last minute. I walked in, I saw 4 doors, on the church door, coming in. We're going to do this. It's going to be fine. We're going to make it. The first person I saw when I walked in the door said, "So you decided to come after all, huh?" And I just smiled and said, "Yep, I did." Walked on, not going to deal with this right now. They had no idea. I was late. I shouldn't have been late. I've been told many times, don't be late. You're a pastor. No good idea. But how easy it is to not really know what people might be going through. And so those with the gift of mercy and compassion, how precious they are. Because so many needs that are deep, they're never going to tell you. They're never going to tell you, I'm having suicidal thoughts. As a matter of fact, that's how discouraged and depressed I am. My best friend died. Or, I've been going to church my whole life, but I just don't feel it anymore. I don't know if I believe it because it doesn't seem like it's there. It's not real anymore. They would never tell me that. They might never tell anybody that because they're living a lie. They've been living a facade all this time. See, the body of Christ is where we can come with our hurts and our needs. And if we're going to be real and tell anybody, we should do it here. And this should be a safe place because the Spirit of God is here. And we're told in Matthew that Jesus looked on the multitudes and he had just a heartbreaking compassion for them, a longing, a yearning for them. He said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how many times I have longed to gather you under my wings like a hen gathers her baby chicks." That's the heart of God expressed to the sinner. I want you. I'll do anything to get you. But you wouldn't come. See? Here's the thing. Mercy givers are attracted to people in distress. They're attracted to that. Can you believe it? They're drawn to that. They see needs and they want to meet it. They're the ones who go chase the lost sheep. They're the ones who go after the stubborn people or the people who don't want to be rescued and need to be rescued but don't know it. They love people that most of us tend to run away from. The awkward, the uncomfortable, the demanding, those that sap the life out of us. That happens. By the way, we've all been there, so who am I to judge? They run to that. Remember the story of the 99 sheep in the fold that were all safe and warm and right where the shepherd wanted them? But there was one stinky, stubborn sheep that didn't hear the master's voice and wandered off. My kids will not go outside after dark at our house. I told them it's totally fine because I love it outside after dark, but there's too many wolves and coyotes and bears and dark things out there. Well, this sheep's out in the middle of all those dark things. So one of the worst things you can be in life would be a sheep, because there's not one thing that doesn't eat you. And God tells us that we're sheep. But that shepherd went after that one sheep. He had 99 other ones. What's one? One is everything. That shepherd and mercy. Look at this. And we'll finish with this because we're going to take communion next. But mercies, you would think that they, I found this interesting because they don't downplay sin. They don't judge you or ridicule you or condemn you for your sin, but that doesn't mean they take it lightly. They're very, very serious about sin and problems. They're very sensitive to it because they're very aware of their own. So they tend to be very self-critical. They tend to be very hard on themselves. They're very conscious of sin and the need for repentance, the need for restoration, the need for getting past it and getting over it. And they also tend to be very humble because of that awareness, because they're so aware of their weaknesses and their faults and their sins. They're merciful. Isn't that the epitome of mercy? As recognizing people as they are and saying, you know what, I'm going to love you anyway. We're going to accept you anyway. We're going to work with you anyway. Because that's exactly where we all are. We're all in the same boat. You all know what Micah 6:8 says? It says, He has shown you, O man, what is good. What does God require of you? But to love mercy. The first thing that God requires of you and I, if we're going to be righteous, if we're going to belong to Him, if we're going to follow Him, love mercy, to do justly, and to walk humbly. with your God. As you talk about these attributes, that's the call to being a mercy right there. We all have that call of God. But some in particular embody this attribute of Jesus. And it is so healing, it is so beautiful, it is so necessary. Where would we be, you and I, today in our life without the mercy of God? I would be nothing. I'd be dead and lost, I guarantee it. I guarantee I would have probably killed myself a long time ago. But because God used people to show me mercy, and God spoke directly to my heart with mercy, it changed my life. So this gift of gentleness and patience, mercy and compassion and prayer, it's the lifeblood of the church. This is what's unique about the religion of Christianity. It's not a religion of rules and rigidness and an angry, judgmental God. It is, in fact, a God who is righteous, a God who is pure and untouchably holy and with high standards and demands. But He is so rich in mercy and love that He has met those demands Himself for you to make that relationship possible. And He has gone to the ends of heaven and earth and hell itself to have mercy on the souls of mankind. And His mercy never wears out. Jeremiah tells us in Lamentations that His mercies are new every morning. You want a fresh shot at life? You want a brand new chance? Guess what? Every time the sun rises and you get up out of bed and face the sun and say, "Thank you, Lord, for another day," His mercies are brand new for you that day. Great is thy faithfulness. Micah 7:18 says He is a God who delights to show mercy and not judgment. He is a God who delights to forgive and prolong opportunities. Matthew 9:36 tells us that Jesus looked out on the crowds and He had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. He didn't judge them, He didn't ridicule them, He didn't shake His head and be like, "Oh, you people." He wanted them. 1 Peter 5:6 commands us to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He would exalt us in due time. The result of humbling ourselves before God, of emptying ourselves of our pride and our judgment, and just treating others the way that we want to be treated, with forgiveness, it says God will exalt that. He will lift that up. He will bless it. He will magnify it. And He will establish you forever. I don't know if this is my gift or not. I'd like it to be. Boy, would I like it to be. But I know some of you have that gift. And that there are people in your life, in this church, who desperately need that from you. There are people in this world who need to be pursued. We need to love the unlovely. Isn't that exactly what Jesus did? He left the hallways of heaven in all its perfection, in all its glory, where He received the adulation and worship of angels every second of every day. His foot never touched sin. He never experienced pain. He never experienced rejection, any of those things, until He came here for you. And that's pretty much all He got. But He persisted. And because He persisted, He is exalted above everything else, isn't He? God has really honored Him for His mercy. And even today, if you need the mercy of God, if you need Jesus Christ in your life and you don't have Him yet, His mercy has never been greater. The power of His blood has never been greater than it is today. It doesn't lose its efficiency. It will never change. Don't block the mercy of God out of your life. Don't block the mercy of others out of your life. Don't hide it. Don't seal it up. Don't be hard-hearted. It's the best thing in this world. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for those that you have gifted with a heart of mercy. The one that weeps with those that weep. The one that rejoices with those that do rejoice. The ones that conform themselves and are sensitive to the feelings and the needs of others and conform themselves to it. Respond directly to it to meet it. Those are the ones that send the cards and make the meals or put their arms around us, and the ones that weep with a tender heart. The ones that pray through hours of the night beseeching you until they get their heart's desire. Those are the ones that are eager to forgive. Those are the ones that love the unlovely and serve the needy, just like you did. Lord, please take away any hardness of heart that we as human beings may have, because we want to follow you, and replace in it the heart of long-suffering compassion and eagerness that pleads with others, that forgives others, that longs to see them come into the fold in the body of Christ and receive his redemption, and brand new life, filled with the Spirit of God, new power, new refreshment, a new name. All the old things passed away, but all things can be made new. Thank you for these spiritual gifts. Thank you for the discussion that we have had. Please help us each, Lord, to find what our spiritual gift and motivation is. Please help me as a shepherd, as a pastor, as the organizer to implement that. To help each member of this body to say, that is me. And to get busy serving God so that this church can be dynamically healthy and unified and inspired. Please, we ask this for Jesus' sake, that he can be glorified above all others. In his name, amen.